So one of the companies that will be affected the most is Apple. And I thought about it and I'm thinking, if I would be Apple CEO, what would I be looking to do? Because this will affect their market like crazy. iPhones and MacBooks are about to get crazy. They're already expensive.
Yeah.
They're about to get even much more expensive. What has been the most public information at the moment is how tariffs are bad. This is terrible. And no one is actually looking at intentions and what it might mean in the positive light for the American economy. Now, I do believe that direct price increase is an issue, but there's also one other thing that companies today, they have such an extensive supply chain that there are companies that you will expect to be affected by the tariffs, but they actually have, whether it's a small manufacturing site in the US, and they just need to expand that and focus on producing everything locally for the local market. And their manufacturing sites outside the US will continue to supply the rest of the world where there's no trade war happening.
Yeah.
So there are companies that will adjust instantly. That's one thing. The second thing that I'm thinking is I've seen the move on the stock market, which is a little bit baffling for me. These are massive companies with extended supply chains and all that stuff that I don't think their profit, P&L, their statement of account at the end will reflect that these tariffs have happened that much because they have supply chains, they have factories all over. For example, Teslas that are being sold in Europe are not even being made in the US. They're being made in Germany. They have this massive gigafactory
In Berlin.
Exactly. That's why most of the Teslas are. So this tariff does not really affect Teslas being sold into Europe because they are still within the EU. They benefit from the free trade zone as a company because these are the nuances that comes with this expected price increase. And Teslas in the EU, maybe this tariff will actually help Tesla when you think about it. I've not thought about it before because I think a lot of the other car companies, they do have manufacturing sites in Detroit, Ford and Mercedes and Jaguar Land Rover. They do have manufacturing sites in the US, but I think Tesla probably has the most complete one, which means that if, for example, some of these cars have to be finished in Canada and then these tariffs will affect them, Teslas are still going to be the same price because they actually manufacture most of their things down to their batteries in the US. I never thought about that angle. The thing is, there will be alternatives, right? That's one thing. The second thing is people believe that now that the US have imposed these tariffs, it's done. But I read a comment, I think, from the White House that they are now waiting by their phones to start getting calls from different countries to start negotiation because their plan around these tariffs, it's not to leave it at that final. It's to actually create a new baseline to start negotiating from. Is this a good idea or not? It's not clear how countries will react to it. Maybe countries will put themselves in that bad position of now I need to pick up the phone to call the White House and see what we can negotiate. And if you negotiate from that standpoint, the US can practically demand whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I think there will even be negotiations outside country to country. There will be company to country. So one of the companies that will be affected the most is Apple. And I thought about it and I'm thinking, if I would be Apple CEO, what would I be looking to do? Because this will affect their market like crazy. iPhones and MacBooks are about to get crazy. They're already expensive.
Yeah.
They're about to get even much more expensive. And the new iPhone has not even been released yet. iPhones normally come out in, is it September or something?
October, I think, yeah.
Right? So this tariffs will be fully in motion, right? And I think what's probably going to happen is, I don't know. But if I'll be Tim Cook at the moment, I'll be going into the White House to tell President Donald to say, look, President Donald, I promise, at least for all the iPhones that we sell in the US, we'll open a manufacturing site or we'll expand our site to make sure that we can deliver everything locally. We're going to create jobs. We're going to do all these things. Apple they have a load of money. They can do it. If any company in the world can survive this, it's Apple. Yeah, they literally have probably the largest cash bank in the world as well. So they can promise something, and maybe for that promise, the president can say, okay, if you get it done this year, we would pause tariffs on Apple products. Just Apple products. Because we've negotiated with Apple's CEO. He has planned to do everything that we need to create the jobs locally, to at least create that self-sufficiency locally and all that stuff. But we know that it takes time for those things to kickstart. So pause tariff on Apple products. If they fail to deliver by the date that they expect to deliver, they owe us all the tariffs that we paused, and the tariffs continue. There is room for negotiation. Now I'm making up all this scenario.
You were talking about like the old tariff. I feel like I'm not sure if Americans are not even in agreement on this. I think maybe a lot of Americans probably are in tune with this whole idea, because I'm like, this all makes sense, right? Why are people actually complaining? And it sort of occurred to me that most people are really just talking about Trump's immigration policies and the witch hunting is like having with some ex-officials and all. Like, maybe Americans subtly are in alignment with this, because I feel like it doesn't sound as bad actually, you know. And I feel like when it comes to like retaliation on the tariffs, if the goal is, for example, like the US to be self-sufficient, then China will feel it more than like the US, for example, because I believe like China also would benefit a lot, like a ton lot of like exporting stuff to the US, right? So, but if US don't sort of need that anymore, they have to look for a new market. And I don't think there are so many countries like the US out there that will consume a lot of their products, you know.